Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the Budget Committee meeting of October 31st, 2025 to order. Madam Clerk, could you conduct roll call, please?
Revimo.
Present.
Councillor Legree.
Present.
Councillor McWhorter.
Present.
Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor Zabalski.
Present.
Councillor Andrew Dick. Revimo, we do have quorum.
Thank you. To those watching, an apology for our late start. We've had some technical difficulties. Some of the equipment isn't working, so we've put together some workarounds, and we hope you will be able to receive the benefit of the broadcast. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. We are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, we now will turn this over to Mr. Hodge, our treasurer, to lead us through the next part of the budget. I would like to first start with a bit of a reminder. With the updated figures, we're still at 9.14%, and that's before any of the capital. Currently, the capital proposed for tax funding is about $400,000, which would be just less than 4% that would be added unless we can find some alternative funding. So I'm sure Mr. Hodge will highlight that for us, but I wanted to just pull that out for you ahead of time. So Mr. Hodge, please.
Thank you. So for today's presentation, we have new information, and what I'm going to do basically here, the plan is to go through a couple of the sheets that we've provided in the meeting agenda that are labeled tab 3, and then I will, once I've for each of those sheets, I'll see if there's any questions, and then we'll go on to looking at the capital summary and quickly review some things there from the last meeting and see if there's any other discussion or questions there. And then I believe the expectation is that we can then look at whether we'd like to move on to the operating budget and potentially go line by line if that's the committee's interest. So I will start and go through first the attachment that's called tab 3, and it's called levy increases for October 31st meeting. So with that sheet, we have a chart basically here that shows the changes from meeting 1, 2, and 3. And if we walk through that, initially when we provided the staff draft, we started out at 13.01% increase. After we had our first meeting, there was 2 specific changes going down the list here, and so we've just labeled that changes from meeting 1. One change was the adding of 50% of the OPP credit, and the other was the difference in the debentures that we had became aware of. So after the first meeting and making those changes, that moves us to 8.68%. Then we proceeded and had a second budget committee meeting. And a change from there was that we took the closed circuit television scans that were in capital and we moved those to operating. And half of that was for in the water sewer area, and then this half is in operating. So that shows the effect of that $50,000 after the second meeting. That takes it from 8.68, and it's in red there on the side, to 9.08%. So today, because we were asked at the last meeting to provide changes to the committee, we've listed here changes for today's meeting, meeting 3. And down at the bottom in green, at the bottom of this page, you can see that we've, as Reeve mentioned, we have 9.14%. And also, as we also mentioned, the The capital funding through tax is not yet shown there, so we're going to look at that more here in a minute. This ties in with the next attachment for tab 3 that's called Budget Revision Tracker. So just quickly looking at that, there are 3 boxes there to look at. The first one at the top is operating. So it ties in and looks to show the information I just mentioned on the previous sheet, which is the $50,000 and the $6,948 and the effect that that has on the tax levy. The next box is for water, and it shows that the changes made there are balanced out with the transfer from reserves, so there's no net impact there. I already mentioned the move of the closed circuit television, the CCTV. Okay, the Deputy Treasurer is going to add something specific to this sheet before I move on.
Please, go ahead.
Just super quick, you'll also see that staff have recommended to split out aqua charges from own internal town contracted services within the water and sewer line items, so that it gives staff and council the ability to see the aqua charges based solely off our agreement, and then it has any contracted services that are funded through water and sewer will be split out. So previously, you'll see in the old column there was $328,000, for example, in water, and now you'll see the split between being $30,000 and $298,000. It's just much cleaner and easier to budget for our own internal and external on 2 different lines. Just wanted to identify that.
Thank you. So I'll pause there for just a second and see if there are any questions specific to these 2 sheets before I look at the and explain the capital summary changes. Okay, thank you. So we have a sheet that is the attachment number 7 on the meeting agenda, which is the updated 2026 capital draft, updated on October 27 is the name of that file. So it's the spreadsheet with all the colors on it and the list of capital requests for 2026. On this sheet, these were reviewed at the second meeting, and some items were removed after that second meeting from the committee's direction. So if you look over at the column that's named total budget, it's the 6th column over, going across the top of the heading there. And you look down, you'll see some lines where there's the dollar figure has been removed, and that's to reflect the decisions of the committee at the previous meeting. So when we go down to the bottom, what we would have been just over $20 million in capital requests is now sitting at $13 million for today's discussion, or for future discussion. This is representative of very close to the amount that's recommended in the asset management plan for annual replacement level of assets. But to remain at that, there's still some requests that are in the unfinanced column, which means we have not today provided an example of potential funding for these requests. So if those were to be found sources of funding and you kept all of those requests that are there now, you'd be at $13 million. But it might be the direction of the committee to do less than that.
Well, just so I understand, the unfinanced would in total of 3.4 million when you go to the second page.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's not reflected in the 1321 number.
That's correct.
Good. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, what the example of what could be funded here is currently about 10 million. So now, if you look to the column next to total budget called taxation, what I've done there for the illustration for the committee today is put all of the smaller capital requests in that column to get an idea of what the total would be and an effect on taxation. So at the bottom, the subtotal there is $401,400. And that would be something that would represent approximately 3.22% levy effect. It would increase the levy. So that's there for consideration today. So we...
Question, Councillor McWhorter.
Through you, Chair. So in the 9.14% that you have on this sheet here, none of that capital you're talking about, the 3.22% is included, right?
That's right.
So it would be over and above that. We'd be looking at about 13%.
Yes.
If we include all that.
Yeah. That's the stage it's representing at today,
Okay.
before further discussion. And so I'm just going to also just if you have questions, what I'm just going to do is run through the list from top to bottom and just briefly touch on the reserves and what kind of reserves we're suggesting there and the effects of borrowing. So you have that as well. So that, yes, sorry, that's the first column on taxation.
Okay, just quickly, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve. So we're at about 13% now without touching the columns that are borrowing and unfinanced, right? And Reeve, if we're going to be going through this, do you want our opinions as we go through each relevant item, specifically with regard to that?
I'll turn to Mr. Hodge, but
So if you'd just like me to give you just a couple more points, then that might be the next way to proceed for sure.
okay, thank you.
Just so you have an idea of what we've changed. So in the next column under grants, from the last meeting, we added the line for museum project. And as the question was asked at the last meeting, in order for that grant to be applied for, the municipality, the town has to endorse that grant application. So that's why it's been added. So $40,000 under taxation and $40,000 would be applicable for a grant. And then we would wait to see the results of the grant application and see if it's approved. The next column is reserves. Oh, actually, I'll just jump ahead one. The development charges column, the only item we have in there in the list is the development charges study, where it would pay for itself for $40,000 from DC funds, from the DC reserve. So a lot of the activity we have here is under the reserves column. And so going down the list, I'll touch on just the items that were funded through reserves. So going down, we have the financial software. So that would be $40,000 from facility reserves. We have a new server, which would be $50,000, also from facility reserves. The next one is $150,000, and that's for diesel extraction. That would be under facility reserve to fund that. The one below it for the V24 backhoe heavy equipment would be $330,000 funded from the vehicle reserve. Going farther down the list, the new mower would be on $65,000 from the equipment reserve. The new truck would be $100,000 from the vehicle reserve. Just continuing down, the landfill scale and scale house. Let's see if I'm on the right line there. We've looked at $150,000, which would have that reserve from facility. We've left $50,000 unfinanced. I might suggest that would actually also go under facility reserve for the full $200,000. Then we have street scans for $45,000. That would come from the roads reserve. Then when we get down to a larger project for Hall Avenue Part 1, suggested that OMPF reserve, the funding from that grant would be used to pay for that. So it's also in the reserve column. Then going down, there's two more for $100,000. There's the design for Lynn Street and Harry Street. So that would be $100,000 from the roads reserve. And then the miscellaneous roads underneath that for $1,192,250 would also come from the roads reserve. So in this example, we'd be looking currently at $3.7 million funded from reserves. We're contributing about 4 million into reserves, so you still have a little room there where you could increase to about 4 million, where you're still just utilizing the money that we're putting into reserves just in 2026. And going over, then we have,
Please.
Thank you, Reeve, through you. With regard to the large landfill scale house, that 50,000, because it's under unfinanced right now, I'd like to put it over to the reserve, so we have a 200,000 with regard to reserves, and I'll throw that up to the floor. So that's landfill scale
and we may want to go down the whole list in a moment, just so that we have like a kind of a running tally like we did last time. I'll just finish up here briefly. I was going to say, in the borrowing column, we have some suggestions for borrowing there. One is for the landfill slope, one is for the pumper rescue, the fire truck, and the other is for large roads project, the Monroe Avenue reconstruction. So I wanted to make note that so borrowing for these items, that subtotals to about 5.4 million, which you have to keep in mind the cost of that on the effect on the operating budget is the cost of the payments and the interest on those loans, and that potentially would add another 5.5% to the levy as well if you were to borrow that much. So that's something that probably the committee will want to consider or look at today. And one other point I wanted to make was with all the changes we made at meeting 2, we had noticed the dog park fence was in it, I want to say 50,000, and it should be actually 60,000 was updated information we received on that. So we were looking to note that for today for a change as well. Part of the reason that we've left items unfunded is because we have a limited amount of reserves, and to try to fund all these projects would really stress all of your options for funding capital and lower your reserves to quite a low level. So. And just maybe I'd asked earlier if the Director of Public Works could jump in and just give us a little bit of info on a street sweeper, which I think was a question from the previous meeting that we were going to answer.
Okay, very quickly, which projects would get the 2.2 million of OCIF, and then also the 292 of what used to be known as the gas tax?
Yes, so all Avenue Part 1 is what we look for
The
the OCF. So the 1.48.
1.486 million would use OMPF funding.
Okay, thank you. Hall Avenue was OMPF, and I'm sorry, gas tax was,
Yeah, I moved my notes on that, so I don't have that right in front of me, but essentially you could look at something like the miscellaneous roads for that, the 1.192 million. There's a bit of flexibility there.
okay.
And that's for the OMPF, right?
Yep.
And gas.
Gas tax.
Oh, so OSIF would be Hall, and OMPF, or sorry, gas tax would be on miscellaneous.
Yes.
Got it. And the gas tax is about 200 and nearly 300,000.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Gas tax.
And then I believe the committee might want to potentially to revisit the list from top to bottom if that's their intent, and we can try to provide any information as as that list is being gone through the chair.
Yes, thank you. And Councillor McDonald.
If we're going to go from top to bottom, the first one, if the Manager Springer can touch up on the urgency, and I know there is a sense of urgency with regard to the landfill slope, but the 800,000 for that, if you can just touch up with regard to that.
Manager Springer, please. Amanda?
Yes, through you, Acting Mayor. So yes, it is an urgent matter. We do expect to have the approval to proceed with that work in 2026, and it is an outstanding non-compliance on our site, so it does need to be taken care of as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. And to our finance people, and probably manager as well, we have a landfill closing. Would that not be part of the closing costs? Because if we didn't stabilize it, we wouldn't get to the final contours. Amanda, please.
Through you, Acting Mayor. So yes, we do have a landfill closure reserve. We had discussed in previous budgets using that reserve and basically borrowing it from ourselves and paying it back. But with the previous treasurers, we never actually came up with a plan to pay that back. But given our site probably has 20 to 50 years, I think there's plenty of time to pay that back, and that can be something finance could explore further potentially.
Okay, thank you. Is that committee? Does that sound like a reasonable plan, Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Reeve, through you. And we have enough in that reserve?
Please.
Through you, Acting Mayor. I believe we were a little bit short on that reserve, if that is the number indeed, that the 791,000 that comes in as a correct cost estimate. I believe we're in the 600 maybe range, but finance would have to confirm that.
Okay. So second question is, if we were to start the work this fall, and then, in the summer, fall of 2026, spread it over into 2027, use the reserve and maybe leave a portion of it, 100,000, unfinanced into 2027. That might be, is that a plan that's acceptable to waste and also to our financial folks? Is that something we could work at? Okay. And Treasurer, please.
So I would say this is something we could bring back to the next meeting and provide information on that and what options are there.
Okay.
Yes.
So in essence, right now, we won't worry about the 791 because we think we have a plan. Is that a fair way, committee, to take a look at that, to sort of pull that out of that number at the bottom for now until we get until we get the plan? Deputy Treasurer?
I think I think we should bring a report back for that to discuss the post-closure costs account, because I don't, I'm not familiar with the conversation that happened before. And Andrew wasn't here either, so I think it's probably appropriate that comes back as an item and utilizing those funds, because it's reported differently than a reserve. I'll just put it that way. So.
Okay, so we think we have a way forward. Let's not really worry about it today. We may end up worrying about it down the road. Yes, Clerk.
Through you, Reeve, would it be the committee's best interest to provide formal direction on that for the next meeting?
Okay, thank you. So what I would suggest to the committee is the motion is that staff review the slope stabilization need through the lens of utilizing us borrowing from over a multi-year period from the closure reserve, landfill closure reserve, plus scheduling it through late 2026 and into early 2027 with the view to some portion of it being unfinanced. Can I get a mover on that? Councillor Legree, Councillor McDonald? Oh, you just need one? Okay. Oh, yes, it's committee. My apologies, Councillor Legree. I wish every board I was involved in would just have one format, just for a whole year, or even one meeting. Anyway, thank you. So, any further comment from committee members? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Carried? Thank you. And next, please, Treasurer Hodge.
Thank you. So I think at this point, we may want to start back down the list again from the top and just kind of read through the items. And if there's any desire for the committee to question or change something, then we could look at that per item. Is that the committee's intention?
Councillor Stabalski, please.
Thank you. Through your even, yes, to answer your question, I do want to do that, but I got to go back a little bit here. I'm looking at our operations. We talked about it at the beginning, and I'm sorry that I'm kind of interrupting here, but are we as a group happy with 9.14 right now? I'd be honest with you, I would like to tackle that a little bit more severely than capital at this point. This, to me, is a bigger issue than capital. You could say wrong that you want to get capital figured out and then go back and get the operation budget, but we know that there's a big percentage of this that we have to talk about that. We have to figure out what we're going to do with that 7-point-some%. Is this something that we want to talk about right now, or do we want to continue with budget?
Councillor McDonald, please.
Read through you, and I'm not happy with the operation cost either, Councillor. So, to me, we're in capital now, and I'll leave it up to the floor. Do we just continue to go through? We have some momentum, and then we're good with that?
Well, yeah, I'd like to get this piece settled before we go back, because I think what we do here is going to dictate some of our responses on the operating side. Regardless, we have to invest in capital. You know, we had that, I can't remember his name, I apologize, said, you know, on average you have to put $13 million a year in for the next 25 years to be even close to being up to where you should be, and likely that number's even higher today. And so I think capital has to be a focus, and then, you know, then the budget is dictated by our capital needs, to be honest, our investment, and then we go back and take a look at operating. And then we look at the whole budget, you know, because I think at some point it's going to be like Solomon, you're going to have to saw the baby in half or swallow what you've produced, which may mean not as much cutting to capital, and we may have to come back to operating a couple of times. All right, is that okay with council? All right, thank you. And Mr. Hodge, please.
Thank you. And sort of the intention today was not to take up the bulk of the meeting with capital, but to have a chance to get into operating as well. So we'll just sort of start down the list here. The first item is fire systems. So I guess if anyone has any questions or intention to want to change what's there, I guess we'll just put their hand up, but otherwise I'll just keep reading off the next item, if that's...
Councillor McWhorter.
There's quite a few items here. Based on the rough figures we have at the first talk, we're looking at 3.22%, another 5.55 or 5%. We're looking at 9% to be added to the 9.14% we're already sitting here looking at. To me, I think to expedite things, we need to pick a few projects that out of the capital that we can afford to do, because there's no way, I'll tell you right now, I'm a no for 9% increase on capital to do all this. So what to go through item on item, I think we need to look at things in general, pick out the ones we can afford, and then move on to operating, because even operations is out of whack. There's no way I'm okay with operations. I think we'll be spinning our wheels. We've already gone through this once and left a bunch of things on here that we thought we'll look at them down the road, but I think at this point with 9% tax increase is what we're looking at just for all the capital over and above operating and the mistake. We could be here for 2 weeks going through this over and over and over again. I think we need to really focus on what's funded through grants or reserves or development charges, and anything for taxation. I think we need to just look at that and see what we can afford, because going through it all, I'm sure we can all come up with another list, and then we'd have to go through it again and again and again until we get it down to where we need. To me, it's out of this list, let's pick 5 items or 10 items and say, talk to each department and say, if we only had to pick a couple of items, what are they? Like, what's most important? Because we can't, simply fact is we can't afford to do those. There's no way we can do another 9% over top of the 9 we're already looking at, trying to save. We could just go over and over and over this list every day and still not get anywhere. I think we need to realize that we can't afford this 9% and narrow it down to what we can afford.
See, the scary thing about budgeting is if people don't pay attention till the end, not us, but the public, then they start thinking, it's 9%, 9%, but until we get to the end. And that's one of the dangers of having a public process is the initial rounds as we work our way down. And respectfully, I think we could end up with 25. If we don't go through it in order, and I recognize that's going to take some time, we could end up arguing over 25 separate points and running around flipping pages back and forth. So I think we have to have some order to the process. And I agree with you, we can't afford it. And I'm looking at everybody else, I can read their eyes. They're anxious to get to where we can get to. But unless we do it in a sense of order, we'll be skipping back and forth up and down the pages, and I think that'll frustrate people more. So if committee's willing, I think we're going to have to put in the time, to be honest with you, to go down through the list. And I recognize it's time consuming. But although I think it's more time consuming to be flipping pages around and grow our frustration because I want something and I go back and try and explain it, and then you move down to the next point that's 5 down or 7 up. So I apologize for that, but I think this is probably the best of a messy process. I'm sorry. Oh, and CAO?
Yes, through you, Reeve. One suggestion that I have is perhaps if you're okay with the ones that have funding from reserve sources, grants, and those ones, that maybe you focus on the ones that are funded right now suggested by tax or unfinanced in total, and the borrowing, because only those ones are the ones that will be impacting future tax or this year's tax amounts. If the other ones already have a funding source, that might maybe save some time if council is fine with the ones that are already being fully funded through another source, just as a suggestion.
Okay, Mr. Hodge, is that something that you're the treasurer, you're the expert? So
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Because that is what's going to affect
Sure.
levy most. And that's like I say, that's why the taxation column or some of those smaller items, because it wouldn't necessarily be practicable to think of borrowing for a $10,000 Salter for the amount of time it would take to figure out a loan and do all the work and administration for that versus like a large road project. But yes, if we wanted to kind of move the larger project, like say the 3.5 million for Monroe.
Okay, so
if that, look at
okay, so if you want to go ahead and start us,
shift them over.
And Deputy Treasurer, were you making the same suggestion, or?
I just have one other thing to throw out to committee for consideration is if committee needs to kind of decide as well if they want a levy impact to fund capital in 2026. Because if they don't want it to increase the 9.14 or whatever the operating shakes down to, then that taxation column has to be determined how to fund that other than taxation. So one alternative could be everything in the taxation column. If that work needs to be done, it needs to be funded some other way, and then you don't have the operating impact through taxation. So borrowing is through debt payments. That is ultimately the nature there, but anything in taxation, if committee does not want a net operating levy impact, then that taxation column is your first piece. And if that's as simple as moving them all over into reserves and then going through hypothetically and picking which projects you need, you don't need, you need. That would be a solution. But from what I'm hearing is that the 9.14 plus the amounts identified here, that might be a solution, is to move something out of being funded through taxation then. But anyways, that's just another alternative option.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Hodge, please.
All right. So if we've already talked about, I'll stick with the borrowing column because there's only a few items there, and then jump back to the taxation column. We already talked about the landfill slope, so we're going to come back with a strategy there. The next one down is the fire truck, the pumper rescue. Is there still an intention to leave that as a borrowed capital item?
Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Reeve, and through you. And I guess to the chief, is there any reason why that can't be deferred to 2027?
And just, and while you're getting your thoughts, my impression is that that money likely won't be spent next year because we're 3 years out or 18 months out or 36 months out. So, I don't know if we spread the cost of that out over 3 years, knowing that we may only be putting 10% down in the first year. So I'm just wondering, to finance, if that's an option, and we'll listen to the chief now, and is there the option of financing through the company and things like that?
Thank you, and through you, Reeve, to council. To somewhat answer your question, do you have to purchase the truck in 2026? And the short answer is no, you do not. However, I should stress that there is consequences of not doing that. Council will have to make that decision. So the truck that we were replacing is a 2001, so it's approximately 24 years old. The town of Renfrew has 2 pumper trucks, one of them being that 2001, the second one is a 2021. I think the initial thought in years back was that every truck had to be replaced after 25 years. And in further research, given the size of the town and the trucks that we have, typically your first line apparatus, which would be the newer 2021, so it should serve for 0 to 15 years. After that point, that truck gets put into what we call as a second line truck from 15 to 20 years. And at that point, the truck should either be retired or put into reserve. So in actual fact, we're probably 4 years past where that truck should have been replaced. The town of Renfrew does not have a reserve truck sitting waiting to be brought in when a truck is out of service. At many of the major incidents that the town could face, we would need both apparatus on that scene. Some buildings to speak of would be our vulnerable occupancies that we serve and protect. Larger structures such as Lapine Apartments, our main street, where we require 2 units in service. There's some other options or some other issues with having an older truck. When the first run truck, which is the 2021, when it's responding to some of our fire protection agreements with some of our neighboring municipalities, that leaves that 2001 as the only truck within our town. There's also been some major repairs on that truck, I believe in 2018, with some frame degradation and repairs. So I think at some point those the parts that were not repaired at that time will have to be fixed. In terms of financing, our team right here can probably speak more to that. Typically, and depending on which route we take, as I said in the previous meeting, we may be able to have the option of a pre-built truck, that could arrive in June of next year. However, if we choose to custom order, as the Reeve said, it could be anywhere from 24 to 36 months. So typically when the chassis is ordered, manufacturers would require a 10% deposit, and the remaining would be at the end of the build. So hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Council agree, please.
through you, Reeve Emo, to the chief. I also heard, I'm not sure if it's true or not, just with insurance for homeowners, does it make a difference if, so like say the 2021 truck is gone, like to Admas and Bromley, so our main truck would be the older one. Does that affect insurance of homeowners, or is that not true?
Through Reeve to all of council. So it certainly does. There is what we call the Fire Underwriters Survey, and they take into account everything from your apparatus, your training, location of fire hydrants, fire inspections. All of this comes into play, and they give a rating to the municipality. So when you have apparatus that are beyond that recommended year of replacement, then it does affect not only the homeowner's insurance, but also the town's insurance for their facilities, but also their apparatus. So it does certainly affect, and it does speak to liability for the town as well. So as you stated before, when the main front run truck is out of town and we respond, if something does happen to that apparatus, there could certainly be some challenges with that.
Follow-up?
Yeah, through you, Reeve Emo, just to follow up, I guess, just a comment. For me, I guess it's as simple as I don't want to put anybody's safety at risk. Like, we have other stuff on here that, that maybe could come off, but I'm not willing to remove an emergency piece of equipment no matter what it is. So I would like it to stay on, but that's just my thought. So.
Councillor McWhirter and then Councillor Zabulski.
Through you, Chair. So if this was financed, how long can we finance it for over the period of time? And is it possible to use some of the reserve to, as a, pay for a portion of it to keep that financing down to a low impact on the taxpayer moving forward? And I'm looking at this thinking maybe 2 or 3 years. 2 years, like this year, next year, and possibly the year after before we got the truck. So you're looking at maybe at least 2 years that you could actually do some payment out of reserve maybe for 2 years to keep the taxation down and then tax the rest. Is that possible? Or?
So, and that was a question I'd asked the last meeting about our reserves, because my impression is that our reserve study apportioned 15% of our reserve when somebody pays into the reserves from the development charges. I thought the study highlighted 15 or 18% of it towards fire services, and with that, because as I understand it, we're increasing the capacity of the truck from 500 gallons to 700 gallons, I think the new one would be, then that increased capacity is also due to progress, so it can be financed. So that's my understanding of the Development Charges Act and our own internal study. I don't have it in front of me, but I think you're correct. We could, and that's part of what I was going to suggest, is we have two strategies. One is use the development charges for the down payment if the order lasts out 36 months, and then finance it internally with a couple $100,000 or $300,000 a year through until we actually pick up the truck. The other strategy is similar, use the development charges on a down payment should we have a ready-made truck show up, and talk to the dealer at the time about payments over a 5-year period. The third strategy is, as Councillor McWhirter has suggested, how long should we borrow or debenture it? How long can we go with that kind of a vehicle? Is there a policy or something under, I can't remember the 4-letter acronym for the standards, municipal, the public budgeting standard, PSAB. Is there any PSAB standards for like 10 or 15 years for a vehicle, that type of thing? So you've got a many-layered question, so please proceed.
So yeah, like any capital asset that you purchase, you want to establish its useful life. So for example, if you had a truck that was going to last 10 years, you would not finance it over 20 years and still be paying for it long after its useful life and it was wore out. So you would look at the typical life of that vehicle or building, whatever it happens to be, a bridge or a culvert, And there's also a cap on borrowing, like you're not going to get a loan for more than 30 years, even if your bridge lasts 50 years or your culvert. And then with development charges, growth pays for growth. So if you increase capacity or you increase, if you replace like for like, then it's not considered growth and it wouldn't qualify. So, and then when you go to a more capacity of a fire truck, it's only the extra portion that is eligible. So it's prorated. So if you have a $1.1 million truck, it doesn't qualify for $1.1 million in development charges. It qualifies for the calculation they do with the development charge study to come up with that number. And with doing that study on here on the list for next year, if you were to defer that truck, and it was not adequately captured in the previous development charges study, it would be captured in the next development charge study, and whatever was eligible would become then collectible as a DC charge. So that's another consideration to make. As far as delivery date, most likely the cost of borrowing won't be for all 365 days for 2026. It'll likely be for half. So the effect of borrowing on that 1.1 million could be adjusted in the operating budget for, say, half a year or for like a mid-year delivery, and that would not have the full borrowing effect. And that you could consider that for anything that's borrowed. Often, if you're going to build a road, it's probably not going to be done January 1st. It's going to be done sometime later in the year, say after the summer construction season, and that's when the borrowing payments would transition over. So I hope that answered all the aspects of that.
Yeah, thank you. Deputy Treasurer?
Just for reference as well, regarding DCs, we have $48,000 identified for fire protection. So just one note. Secondly, the vehicle reserve for budget purposes this year is $621,000, and the equipment reserve, if deemed that it was appropriate to use as well, is at $297,000, and that is to empty that bucket, so to speak. That's what's left in there after last year's ending balance. I say last year, but 2025's ending balance plus the allocation in 26. Those are those two balances as well. So 48,000 in DC, 621,000 in vehicle, and 297,000 in equipment.
Okay, thank you. So committee, what I guess it sounds like I see from myself and Councillor Legree, we're in favor of keeping this. I'd like to hear from the rest of the committee, if you don't mind, please. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. With the caveat of exploring the other financing options, I like that, and if it means we drain a reserve to offset tax increases, I'd be looking at something like that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McWhirter and Cebulski.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. If we were to build a cab chassis and take the 3-year road, is the current truck sustainable for the next 3 years, and would there be a cost increase on the truck? Or is it best off to get the pre-built one, which I understand is already there? So that's my question.
Okay, thank you. Chief, please.
Thank you, and through the Reeve. That's a challenging question. It's hard to know whether anything will last 3 years. I'd like to think so. In terms of the frame repair, I'm not sure I can answer that question. I hope it would. It is somewhat challenging in taking a stock truck. The town of Renfrew, given its size and structure with 2 apparatus, and because that main apparatus responds to all types of emergencies, meaning it responds to extrication, fire alarms, locked door rescue, all of our equipment has to be captured on one truck. Where some larger municipalities have a pumper truck and a separate rescue unit. We have to try and capture that all in one apparatus, and to get something that's stock built is not impossible, but it does create challenges.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McWhirter.
I'd like to explore the options on the truck as far as the financing, as we discussed, I think, and then bring it back to council for another look.
Okay, thank you. So just to, if I could suggest a motion, is that our finance department be requested to pursue various financing options for the proposed pumper rescue vehicle, utilizing reserves and/or loans and/or internal financing, and bring the recommendation back to council. Is that clear enough before we take a vote? Okay, thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McDonald. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? It's carried. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hodge.
Thank you. Through the chair. Just the next one below that is the Monroe Avenue reconstruction. That's probably it looks to be the largest project request on this list today, $3.5 million, and right now it's under the borrowing column. And in consideration of moving that over to the reserves column, then it may be a question of prioritizing which of those 1, 2, 3, 4 major roads projects requests are on here, and how many of those can be accomplished in 2026 through reserves. Probably
Okay, so
more like a $3 to $4 million roads reserve.
Okay, so I'm going to kick out a question. When we look at this 3.5, is that a relatively firm figure, like a Class D or whatever recommendation? And then is there water and sewer needed underground as well with that? Director, please.
Yep, thank you, and through you, Chair. So the design for Monroe has been completed since 2024. So we do have a pretty concrete design and numbers and a cost estimate based on that. That's what our budgeted number is for, and we have included a contingency of 10%. It does include water and sewer underground. It's about close to 10% of the project is water, and about 11 is sewer.
Okay, and when we talk water and sewer, just for my education for future going forward, does that also include runoff, separating the, I think it's been traditional for us to separate rainwater and wastewater?
Yes, through you, Chair. The storm system is separate than that, and it's about 24%. We're adding a major outfall kind of into that creek where it connects to the old section that has been done.
Great. Okay, thank you. Now, members of council.
Thank you,
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve, through you. Is that a 1 or 2 year project, or is it expected to be done in 1 year?
Through you, Chair. Depending on what time it could get tendered, what time of year, I think it could be a 1-year project. Although I guess I will note that this was originally a Monroe and Harry, so I've separated those out for budget purposes, but it was originally designed as one project. The rest of Monroe to the dead end, and then the first portion of Harry, which is Harry Phase 1, which is included in the budget as well. It's up to the first corner of Harry Street.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve, through you. And to me, the issue is financing with regard to it. And is there a reason why it can't be deferred to 2027?
Through you, Chair.
Sure.
It was identified last year as a priority project because the road is in very poor condition, and it's gotten worse over the year. It's, I would say, our number 1 road project that I would be recommending. It's difficult to maintain at this point because the road surface is so poor. So it would be difficult to postpone again. I think that would require a major asphalt patch, basically on that whole stretch, and that could be some major expenses as well. And if that was going to happen next year, I think that the reconstruction, the full depth reconstruction, wouldn't be supported the following year because there would be new asphalt down. So that's up to council if rather spend money on the road surface itself now or the full reconstruction.
Thank you. Councillor Legree.
To emo. So if we were to move ahead with this one, but take off like some of the other road projects like Hall Avenue, Part 1, we could move the OMPF funds to this $3,500 one. Am I correct? Like that can be redistributed around, right?
And that's what I'm suggesting, yeah.
That's what you're, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor McWhirter.
You, Chair, so put you on the spot, Director. If you had to pick, which would you prefer? Which would you pick?
Through you, Chair, I would pick Monroe.
I appreciate your honesty. Thank you.
Okay, and that okay wasn't anything beyond an okay. I was just looking, and so under unfinanced, we had Harry when the director mentioned Harry. So under borrowing, it's 3.5, and then unfinanced was 1.7. So it's a total project of around 5.4 million. So is that a consideration for council if we're going to end up borrowing to link those two pieces together? Because I kind of have in my mind that I don't like borrowing for anything less than about $5 million, to be honest with you. I think, I don't know if we have an internal policy, but maybe we should have one where we do debentures. They have to be at a certain number rather than a bunch of, and this sounds terrible to say that, but a bunch of smaller $1 million projects, because $1 million is still a lot of money. So, is there any benefit to the corporation, Director, in lumping those together in terms of better for the system, better for the town, better for the future? The better question, better value.
Through you, Chair. Yes, because it was originally lumped together as Monroe and Harry, the same consultant has designed both and they're tied together. So the fact that we could tender that as one, we save on mobilization costs. It gets done all as one project. They don't have to go back and tie into Monroe. And I think for future planning, we have Harry and Joe in design right now. We would like to do the rest of Harry in upcoming years so that we have those tender-ready projects, and that's a continuation of one of those collector roads through town. So the overall goal in the next several years is to have those collector roads, Monroe, Harry, Hall, all complete, and I think that this is just kind of the first step towards. So doing them together definitely saves on some of those costs because it could be done by the same contractor at the same time.
I'll go. I have one question then, Councillor McDonald. So if you can refresh my memory on the Harry Street, my impression is, my memory seems to tell me that Harry Street was a capacity issue as well. We're going to increase the size of the piping in Harry Street all through it. And am I correct in that? Because I think Monroe is one of our large trunk, which catches a lot of stuff and takes it to both of our plants. Is that fair to say?
Through you, Chair, I'll have to confirm on that exactly, but there was no existing storm infrastructure on Harry, so that's being added. I'm not sure about the sizing for sanitary and water, but it is pretty major road reconstruction because of that storm sewer.
Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Reeve, through you. So if we combine both of them, and with regard to financing, are we able to stretch that out for 2 years or start it? And I'm thinking with regard to financing specifically. Is that an option? And if we look at Argyle and Lockheed, that was a 2-year project, I'm thinking. So regarding financing?
Through you, Chair, I think it could be. Typically with our 2-year projects, we have mobilization and demobilization costs, so there would be maybe some additional fees and contractors coming back the following year, but we could plan for that if that's easier for financing. I don't know if the treasurer or deputy treasurer has any comments on that.
And first, just before I turn to them, we haven't talked about sidewalks, but my recollection in my drive-through is the sidewalks on Harry Street and the sidewalks on Monroe are done. There's weeds growing through them, there's cracks being pulled off by the plows. So that's, my thought is if we don't replace them now, we're certainly going to be doing a major patching with asphalt in some of the cracked areas. Is that a fair assessment?
Through you, Chair, yes, that is fair to say. And it's obviously Central Schools right there, and it's a major pedestrian travel way for children and parents dropping off their children at school. So the sidewalk is in poor shape, and I think if it wasn't going to be done this year, we would definitely need to patch the road and the sidewalks.
Councillor McDonald, and then we'll go to Treasury.
Thank you, Reeve, through you. Are the sidewalks included in these two costings?
Yes, they are.
Treasurer Hodge.
So the question was about breaking it out over multiple years?
Yeah, breaking out over 2 years, and then also the borrowing of it. So my impression is we would get a construction loan, turn that into a debenture, and then I guess would that add a couple percent to the operating going forward? So I think my rough math tells me it would add 2% or 2.2% to the, but I would be really appreciative of your advice.
Yeah, and then maybe even better than just a snap answer now might be to bring back some more detailed information on that at our next meeting on the 13th.
Okay, so I think Councillor McDonald has made that as a motion. All of those in favor? Opposed? None is carried. Thank you. All right, thank you. And Councillor, soon to be Councillor Hodge, but Treasurer Hodge?
I haven't put my name in.
Haven't made that decision yet? We'll help you.
I'll stay in this chair. So yeah, that's the three items in the borrowing column. So I guess if we want to just jump back over to the taxation column before we move back to operating, then we at the last discussion, the committee put a lot of the, I would say, mandatory studies and things that affect levels of service on the list, kept them on the list for smaller dollar values, we call them, in that taxation column. So I guess the question is there any desire to move them to unfunded again? And I suppose at some point if they remain there, then they would not be part of the 2026 budget if the committee doesn't choose to fund them.
So the first thing for me is I think the council equipment at 7,000, the new council, I think we can just have these devices wiped and be handed out to them. I recognize that they're I recognize that it's suggested they're going to be outdated, but I think all of us use outdated things every day, especially in the technology world, because we can't afford to replace them. So with your agreement, just automatically stroke that 7,000 off the taxation line. Is the committee okay with that? Okay, thank you. So we'll just pull that right out altogether of the budget. And I'll apologize to the people following us. Okay, thank you. So maybe start at the top with the fire services piece. Councillor Legree.
Through you, Reeve, I guess this will be for Director Latondras. You probably mentioned, but I can't remember. Is this a mandatory thing that has to be done in 2026, or can this be moved off?
Thank you, through you, Reeve. So these are actually fire evacuation, what's the proper term for them? Fire safety plans, and none of our buildings have them. So I would say if there's anything on my list, this would be what I would say should be done in 2026.
Okay, and then just a quick question. Is that something that could be done internally as a bit of a task force between 2 or 3 departments, or is it such a specialty item that we need to bring somebody in? Chief, please.
Thank you, Reeve, and through you to council. So I knew this question would come up. No, simply why can't we have a full-time fire service. It does create some challenges, again, because you have your fire department that is both the authority having jurisdiction, also enforces the Ontario Fire Code, which is where this comes from and where it's required from. So basically, we're developing the plan and also approving the plan. So it does create a conflict of interest. It's not that we can't assist with it, but I would caution creating the plan and having myself sign off on it. But to the director's point, these are required under the Ontario Fire Code to have fire safety plans for those assembly occupancies.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, so if I decided I was going to, like I just said, enough, I'm not spending that kind of money, I'd never do that. Maybe not. But so if I decided we're not going to spend that kind of money, and I would have got 3 chiefs from adjoining municipalities to join me, and we produced this plan, would that be acceptable? Because as you've said to us, you're the adjudicator and enforcer and all of those things. So is that, I'm just trying to think of a workaround, and I'm not likely to do it, but would that meet the criteria if the plans were acceptable? Or does it have to be someone that's accredited and all of those things?
Through you, Reeve, and to answer your question, that would be acceptable. And again, to your earlier point, nothing says that you can't have a committee and other town resources to develop these fire safety plans with our assistance. And we have certainly provided templates to other organizations and other occupancies. So we can assist in that way. The most challenging aspect of the plan is the drawings of the building. And some of our, my FM Center does have current drawings. This building we probably do as well. So it certainly is a direction you could take.
Okay, thank you for your patience. Councillor Legree.
Through you, Revimo, to Director Latondras, I guess. So this $20,000, it includes everything, like the drawings that's going up on the wall, the study, whatever, like the whole $20,000 would do all the buildings 100%?
That's correct.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, I'm stuck with the idea of leaving it in. In fairness to our staff, I'm not sure I want to load. I'd like to see task forces and internal work projects, but I think they have to be bigger than this and a little more complex, to be honest with you. So, maybe it's probably better to just go outside and get it done and have it all done completely. But as always, I'm willing to listen to committee, and I think Councillor would agree. I have the impression you're sort of on that wavelength as well. Anyone else? Councillor McWhirter, please.
You, Chair. So is there any funding or reserves that would cover this sort of thing? Because this is part of the expansion that we were talking about earlier, I think.
Well, I think we may be draining that section, but we'll certainly ask. And again, Deputy Treasurer, please, or Treasurer.
There would still be some availability, like in a facility reserve for something like that. It's just, I started from the premise that these, small amounts, we might also not have them in our tangible capital assets listing because they're not like a larger asset, like a building or something. So it's just a starting point. It's a cleaner way to just have cleared out smaller items, but they do add up quickly at $400,000. So it does have an impact on the levy. So that particular one, the facility reserve is there that could be moved over.
Okay, so can we move that over to facility reserve? And as always, could you keep a little bit of a running total on what reserve? Because
yes,
we'd like to know at the end of the day how we've impacted it. So thank you. Good suggestion, Councillor McWhirter. And then we'll move to the museum project. That is an item $40,000. And again, it's a meeting of you see the other side, which is a grant, so we put 40 in and they take 40. Now my impression was if we're not successful, that 40,000 isn't spent. Is that how I understand it, Director?
Yes, through you, Reeve. That's correct.
Okay. So that could end up contributing to a surplus. Are we okay with leaving that in? I see head nodding. I'm okay. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor McWhirter, you're in?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
As long as we get the grant, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, Deputy Treasurer?
Just for clarification, with all the taxation items, are we just going through right now saying yes or no, and are we determining funding sources?
I think we're going to take a crack at funding sources, or at least ask you folks to investigate as we go through taxation.
Okay, and then can I ask a follow-up to
You
that?
certainly can.
Is the appetite that the taxation column kind of be, for now, postponed, i.e. not being on top of the 9.14, or has that not been fleshed out yet? Sorry.
Well, my impression is yes, and I have the feeling from everybody else that yes, we're trying to carve away, and so that the 9.4 is our next target.
Yep, okay, no, understood. So whenever we move from here, we'll, just like the last item, we will identify funding sources through a reserve or DCs or something for this, or whatever.
Or dump it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Reeve, through you. So as we're going down the taxation list, there's other options here, like that 40,000, can that come out of a reserve or some other places? So just to clarify, yeah.
Thank you.
Deputy Treasurer?
Yeah, through you, that's where I was going with that. It's as we hit each taxation item, I was based off of kind of how I was seeing the meeting going, it was that there was an appetite to move it out of the taxation column essentially, so I just wanted to know if we were going to identify the specific reserves or if you just wanted us to bring back what's available in the specific reserves and fund them.
Councillor McDonald and
Thank you,
McWhirter.
Reeve, through you. That's what I would like. If there's other options that we can clean out that taxation and we have reserves, I'd like to know the options as we go down. And example for that one right there, if we can put that 40,000 through a reserve, I'd rather do that.
Councillor McWhirter?
I agree with Councillor McDonald. I'm just wondering if we can go through taxation list, decide which ones we want to keep, which ones we don't, and we leave it to the Treasurer Department to bring forward to the next meeting the options we have for what the idea were. Yes, definitely not taxation, definitely reserve, and they would have a better, like, rather than go back and forth on the, what's what. If we could just do that, it would probably speed the process up a little bit.
You got it. Thank you. So the scanning, we want to continue with that and send it off to reserve, because we thought that it was going to be important to the future. Okay. OP 44,000. We have to go forward with that. So again, we'll ask for a reserve. The council surfaces we're ditching. 5,900 for the lockable server rack and UPS system. That was necessary. Okay, off to reserve. Updated switches again. Okay, and next we drop down to 7th Street asphalt. Oh, sorry, is that it? Yeah, 7th Street asphalt rehab, and that's a review of the plan. Director, is that how I remember it? Review of what was designed, or is that the actual cost? I doubt it, but
If only. That is for additional budget for the project that's already been awarded. It was,
yes.
Yeah, it's just an additional $10,000 so that if we have to do any soils testing, that is covered basically.
Okay, council, we'll keep that, and okay, thank you. The Salter, okay, keep that and go. Councillor McDonald, or you were just a yes, okay. Next is the elliptical machine. Yes, sir. Councillor Legree?
Through you, Reeve, emo to Director Latondres, do we have a elliptical machine there now, or is this like the only one? I don't go in there very often, so.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. This is it. We just have this one.
Okay. All right, thank you. Tables and chairs, My FM Center. Yes, sir. Councillor McWhirter.
I believe right now we're borrowing if we need more. Maybe we could do that for another year and put this one off. And there are other avenues for funding possibly next year on some of the stuff for Mattaway. And without giving away anything, I could probably talk to you about it for next year. Okay. We're good then?
Okay, so you're suggesting we just pull it right out?
For now,
Okay, we'll pull it out, stroke it off. I'm sorry? The MyFM Center tables and chairs. And the fleet of picnic tables and benches. Leave that in? Okay, so we'll pull it out and, or put a star on it.
Chair, if it's for my FMs, there is our committee that's what we do.
Sure.
I'd have to bring it to committee, but these are some items that would probably fall under that for next year. I'd have to go to committee over it. But.
Okay, thank you. So the benches and tables, are they specifically for the MyFM or the Mattaway lands, or they're for the whole town?
Thank you, through you, for the other parks in the town.
Okay. So council, do you want to leave that in, because it's most of the funding at the MyFM Center, extra funding is for that footprint. Councillor Stabalski?
Thank you. Just what's the overall condition of what we're working with now? Or are we looking to add, just replace? Just a little bit more background, please.
Director, please.
Thank you, through you. So a lot of, they have not been replaced or sort of updated. So a lot of them that we have are in not great condition. So there's also no accessible ones at all. So that's another, we'd like to add at least a couple of accessible picnic tables and throughout the parks.
Okay, thank you. So is there any opportunity to receive funding from Trillium or something like that, like make an application to Trillium? Or is it Trillium is the...
Yes, thank you, through you, Reeve. Yeah, there would be. The problem is, to be honest, I think we have way more requests for Trillium grants than we do applications. So I know there's a couple of other projects as well that are up there, but I definitely could look at it, definitely could look for alternate funding. It's something that would be nice to have to make things better, but I'm not saying it's, be all and end all, so.
Okay, so council, what do you feel? Would you like to pull, committee, sorry? Cut it? Okay, so we'll pull that out. Thank you. Park signage. 15,000. And I really can't make a case for it to be development charges. I'm sorry. Councillor Stabalski?
Thank you. Same thing. Question. Quality or condition? Is it for updating our new symbol? Like, what's the
logo? I'm sorry. Okay, Councillor. Sorry, Director.
Thank you, through you. So the signage in our town parks have been neglected for years. So a number of the park signs are in very poor condition. Yes, the branding is also old, quite old. Whatever is approved, like we can replace whatever we can per year. Like this definitely won't replace all the ones in bad shape. We were just trying to do a few each year till we kind of get them fixed up.
Okay, thank you. Now I see that was a carryover from 2025. Excuse me, a carryover. Does that mean that the money was allocated in the budget and wasn't spent, or does that mean it was a carryover as a program that we didn't fund?
My understanding is that there was no funding identified for it in 2025.
Okay, thank you. And council, what would be your pleasure? Councillor
Through
McDonald.
you, I have no problem with understanding where the financing will come from through the reserves, as we've talked about earlier, so I'm
Okay,
okay
so
to leave it in for
we'll
now.
keep it and pass it over and see if we can fund it through reserves. Okay, thank you. Sorry, just doing my homework here. Dump trailer, 18,000. My impression is if we were going to have a chat between the two departments to see if there's a swap, did anything occur with that? Director Bishop, please?
Yep, through you, Chair. I don't know if Director Hodge has something to say, but just want to note that the feedback I got was that there really isn't a point in switching for the Public Works Department, and that due to the trailer that was purchased previously, many operators at the Public Works garage still can't drive that trailer.
Okay, so my apologies. We've already, the 18,000 was the brine filtration. My apologies. It's, the line's got a little, I looked through the wrong part of my glasses. I'm sorry. So the brine filtration, again, curious, is that something from the water reserve? Is that not fundable from that? I'm kind of curious as to why that's in taxation. Gentlemen?
I'm just trying to remember which department requested that. I thought it was with,
I think
with the arena. Right.
Oh, the arena. I'm sorry. Okay, so, and again, it seemed to be essential. So, sorry, Deputy Treasurer.
Sorry, just you made a comment about water sewer reserves and taxation reserves. These can be funded. So Monroe Harry, we talked about earlier, as being funded from the debt payments. The debt payments could actually hit the operating fund as well as the water and sewer funds, because it is a project that's split up of multiple departments, for lack of a better term. Reserves for water sewer can also fund these things if they're water sewer related. So if that was replace water pipes specifically, just to make it easy, this capital budget is inclusive of water sewer and just the operating fund. So if we identify reserves in this column, maybe for future years we could have a reserves column for water and a reserves column for sewer, just to kind of clean that up and then reconcile at the bottom. But currently this reserves column does incorporate the use of water and sewer funds outside of the water sewer operating budget, but actually just for capital purposes. So just if we have identified reserves in this column, it could be from water, it could be from sewer, and it could be from our normal capital and operating reserves.
Okay, thank you. So this brine was for the 2 ice pads. Okay, and again, we'll ask for that to come from a reserve, a report back. Moving down, and I'll be very careful, heritage work carryover plus additional at 11,000. Councillor Legree, please.
Through email to the director, can I just get another update on what that is, please?
So he's not here right now, but if I'm going to go from my memory, and I'll ask the CAO, oh, I'm sorry, Manager Springer?
Through you, Chair, if you give me a second.
You're lucky that the CBO threw you under the bus, otherwise I was going to try it.
I will find the capital sheet with the director's notes. I have it here, if I may. So it is a carryover of the remainder of the 2025 heritage work. The cost estimates assume the staff undertaking the majority of the research, documentation, and report preparation, and the consultant fee is for peer review only.
So if I understand what we heard, the consultant's fee, they would act almost as a peer review. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, I believe that our museum and archive specialist is going to do the work, and then that needs to be reviewed by an external party, and that is what the fees are for.
Okay. Good. We're using our resources. That's good. Okay. Thank you. Council, leave it in, leave it out. Hope that development charges pick up some of it. Councillor Legree?
Through your email, if our staff is doing the work and then they're reviewing at the end, can this be pushed off for a year?
So my impression is, if I remember correctly, it was part of the we'd made the request around Millionaire's Corner and down on Quarry, some of those areas, and then it's spread out to do some other work because we think we need to do something with heritage. And I see your hand.
Yes, through you, Reeve. In regards to the heritage work, so yes, this is the, sorry, I'm getting some feedback before your eyes aren't there. It's for the work that needs to be done in order to get properties listed or designated as heritage properties, which will protect them from being destroyed or reconstructed in a way that removes the heritage features. So if the work does not continue, as much as there may not necessarily be a specific timeline, if somebody were to, new or a current owner has one of these properties that might be something that you would be working towards getting listed, they wish to demolish it, we wouldn't have a way of actually protecting it from that, and we would have to issue the permits accordingly under the Ontario Building Code, which, so the longer we take, the more chances that something like that could occur. So it's not that there's a legislative need that we have to do it right away, but the longer you wait, the more risks you do have in those situations. So that's why it's being proposed to finish up in 2026, because we only have so long to, once you do a report, for it to get peer reviewed before you'd have to update a report again.
Okay. Thank you, Director Springer, and then, sorry, Manager Springer, and then Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Just wanted to reiterate that this is a carryover, so I do believe it is in progress, but it is listed as a high priority, not a critical priority, which I do believe does indicate that there might be some possibility to push that.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Reeve. Through you, I'm for leaving it in and to just check out the funding sources once finance done with it.
Okay, thank you. The rest of committee's okay with that? Okay, looks like it. You're not, sorry?
Through you, Reeve, I'd be to defer it to 2027. That's my thought.
Okay, so Councillor McDonald made the motion to move it forward into reserve and have finance take a look at it. And so you're against that? Okay. Is there any other comments? Councillor McWhirter?
Through you, Chair. So I'm not entirely sure I actually agree with that sort of thing, because you're restricting whoever buys those properties to what they can or can't do. I know from if you get a contractor who buys one of them and they want to make changes or convert it, you've actually limited to him what he can or can't do. So I'd sort of prefer defer it for another year, Councillor Gree's point, and maybe have more discussion about it, because you are basically dictating what you can and can't do with those buildings by doing that. And for us to go ahead and put that burden on someone else, I'm not sure we should have that. So I'd like to discuss it more anyway. So,
Councillor Cebulski?
Yeah, thank you, through Reeve. Yeah, I do struggle with the whole profile of it. I understand and respect heritage, and I understand that there are some buildings that we need to be aware of, but I find it's a big outreach of power of ours too, so I'm okay with deferring it as well. I don't necessarily support it the most, so yeah.
Okay. And I'll offer comment. So this work was proposed under the auspices of the official plan, some reach into the zoning bylaw, which we're responsible for. And it seems to be two things for me. It's good value in the sense that our staff is doing the work and they're having it peer reviewed. That's a good business practice when you have staff offering up a plan or comment that's going to affect development or refresh of a existing structure, and I think that's part of our responsibility under our management of the official plan and the recognizing and responding to the provincial policy statement. So I'm in favor of it going forward, but I'll listen to Councillor McDonald and we'll call the vote. Councillor McDonald?
Reeve, just go ahead with the vote. I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay, good. So all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, so it's deferred until 2027 or later. Thank you. And next we move to zoning bylaw review at 40,000. Again, I think that's statutory is what we heard, and so we'll ask staff to take a look at how to fund that, is my impression. Okay. And then storage structure replacement, that is at the Public Works garage area. Again, keep it and ask for staff, or ditch it, keep it and ask for staff, okay, to take a look at the funding. Okay, thank you. 15,000 for the oil units. And that is a Public Works request. Again, staff, council, okay, we'll ask for staff to tell us how to finance that, or advise us, sorry, not tell us. Don't want to feed that myth that we're mere puppets. So that should get me a couple snarky emails. So next is the security fobs at the Innovation Center for the main door. I think keep and then finance. Security cameras at Town Hall for 10,000. So again, keep and look at facilities or something, okay? And 50,000 for the CIP review. Okay, so I'm going to start. The CIP's Community Improvement Plan, and what it does, you've seen what it does, but there is some question about whether or not we can increase its reach. The reach being, should I decide to turn my garage into a unit for like a single apartment or a bachelor apartment, is there the ability to add to that and give somebody a $5,000 grant as part of that construction? So the CIP, the idea was to try and turn the CIP into an ability to foster more affordable housing. So that's I'll leave it at that. And Councillor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Reeve. I guess my question is, the 50,000, is it for a study or is it for funding of the CIP program?
And Ms. Springer, please.
Through you, Chair. According to the capital projects sheet, it is to undertake a review of the existing CIP plan and consultation and review of funding programs and a review of the program boundaries. Apparently this was discussed at the Economic Development Advisory Committee as well.
Councillor Cebulski.
Thank you, through Reeve. So obviously it's something that's a good talking point and I'm encouraging it, but I'm still following up Councillor McDonald's question is what the funding is for. Is it for a study? Is it for a third party? Is this going to be in-house done? Can we understand that better, please?
Ms. Springer, please.
Sorry, through you, Chair, that I wasn't clear. It is for a study.
Okay, thank you. So leave it in and ask for a funding source. Councillor Cebulski.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. Just one more question before we get there. Without going through the budget, what is the line item amount that we've allowed for the CIP in grants for the upcoming 2026 year?
Deputy Treasurer, please.
I believe in operating right now, it was reintroduced in 2026 as a recommendation, and I believe it was $20,000. I can confirm super quickly. Yep, it's a line item that's new to 2026. It was out in 25. It was there in 24. It is 20 grand.
Councillor McDonald, Councillor Legree, please.
Thank you, Reeve, and through you. And when we fund that, does that specifically come out of taxation, or does it come out of a reserve when we fund the CIP programs?
Deputy Treasurer?
At this time, we didn't account for financing from the CIP reserve. There is a balance in the CIP reserve of
10.
It is 10,000, right?
Yep.
10,000. That could be considered. But at this time, how operating is currently showing is it's through taxation.
Councillor Legree, please.
Through Revimo, just so I'm clear then, this 50,000 is just so we're kind of doing the CIP thing now, and we have 20,000, but this 50 is for like a third party to come in to go through it, like to show us. I'm confused on the 50,000 still. Sorry.
Sorry, so you are correct. It is to bring in someone. There's a review of our own past practices. There's also a review of the sector, and then there'll be a recommendation going forward. And part of the review is to what can we use it for to increase affordable housing or units, whether they're individually in your garage, whether they're an individual bunkie style addition on a lot, if that's possible, or if it's to convert the single homes into threes on a lot, like a 3 units. So there's a whole pile of issues to be resolved with it, and most of those will trickle over into the zoning bylaw and the planning bylaw, or the official plan bylaw.
Follow up.
Certainly, sir.
So, yeah, I get it's important, but my thought is we need to start making some cuts here, so I defer it to 2027 is my thought.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? So that's Councillor Legree's motion. Councillor Stabalski, please.
Thank you. Just maybe a little bit of context. Did I catch it right that 2025 there was zero allocated in the budget for it, and this year we've increased it to 20,000, or did I misunderstand that?
Deputy Treasurer.
Thank you. Yeah, through you, it's my understanding, because it was there in 2024, it's my understanding that it was removed in 2025 from the budget, but it was based on application. It was going to be, approved on a case-by-case basis, but there was no budget line item for the $20,000 put into the operating budget, and it has been recommended that it's included in the operating budget as a budgeted amount. So it was there in 24, then removed in 25, and then being proposed for 26.
Okay. I'm sure we've awarded a couple of this year.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, correct. So the reason, and again, maybe my understanding is that there was no line item budgeted for it, but on a case-by-case basis, they would be reviewed by council because there's no line item in the budget, and then the financing source would be determined in that report that would have went to council at that time as well.
Yes, thank you. CAO, thank you.
Yes, through you, Reeve. In addition to that, so although there wasn't a budget for it, anybody could still submit their applications for CIP, even though we didn't actually budget. I believe the only ones that came forward were in relation to the tax relief ones, where council had only recommended approving one of them. So we would need to ensure the operating budget has enough in the expense to cover the expectation of that first year of that 10-year tax relief. That was approved under the CIP for that one property. So it is one of those that if council ever did reduce those, it doesn't eliminate the fact that we do have a CIP program, and that if people can still submit applications, it just means that council has to review every single one, even if there was delegated authority for smaller ones, as there would have been no budget for it otherwise.
Thank you. Councillor Legree.
Through you, Revimo. So I'm really confused now. So the 50,000, if I'm a business or something, I put in an application and it gets accepted for whatever, $6,000, let's say, that comes out of the 50 then? No. This is totally separate.
Yes,
okay,
it
that's
is,
what
sir.
I thought. Okay.
Yep.
Just to study for the 50,000.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Stabalski.
although I recognize the importance of this in our growth, especially being on the economic development, it might be something just due to our constraints that we can't do this year. And I know it's a question that's maybe not for this forum, but is the review something that the committee could take on for economic development? Do we need to pay the third-party source to manage this right now?
Okay, so the clerk reminded me, because I was busily scrawling a note here, we'd have to develop a terms of reference or rebuild your terms of reference for your committee and then allocate some kind of resources to assist it, because I think it's a little more complex than you might want to take on. Just a warning. Okay, so my understanding is Councillor Legree has put forward a motion to defer it to another year. So seeing nothing more, I'll ask for the vote. Those in favor of deferring? Opposed? Yes, sir. Sorry.
Through you, Reeve, I'm just wondering if we can jump back to, I have a question about the cameras at the town office.
Okay, thank you. And
Once
so,
you're done with this, if we could just
okay, so it's the vote was carried that this be deferred to 2027 or later, and so next we'll go back to the security cameras at Town Hall, a $10,000 project. And you have a question for?
Through you, Reeve. Sorry, I missed it on the first round, but I'm just wondering through the clerk, Erin, if she could this be part of the PAT program?
Sure. And through you, Reeve. So the Preventing Auto Theft, which is the PAT grant, just for clarification, I guess it would depend on the intent of the cameras. If the cameras are in the building, I don't think it would necessarily meet within the requirements of preventing auto theft. However, if the cameras are on the exterior of the building and they could be used for dual purposes, then yes, the money could be allocated under that program.
Councillor Legree?
Okay, so I guess this line item here, that's for cameras inside the building, and I'm assuming, or can anybody answer that?
Director Latondras.
Yes, through your Eve, it was identified that, there are no security cameras in this building.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've come to the end of the taxation piece, and my impression is that we are now, there's enough instruction and comment back to finance to bring this whole chart back to us again. Deputy Treasurer?
The unfinanced column. I believe there were some items that required more information, and I will let the directors, if they have that information, speak to it, or through you, obviously, but I believe there were some items within the unfinanced that we need to tackle.
Okay, thank you. So the unfinanced is, as I'm looking across and making sure of the right arrow, is the street sweeper unit at $550,000. Council, and is there any questions you want to ask the director? One of the directors, any of the directors? Councillor Legree, sorry.
Through your Reeve, to Director Bishop, just curious if we can get a status on the sweep. Like, can we get another year out of it? I know there was a couple of questions I think she was going to come back to us on. If she could give us a bit of an update, please.
Please.
Through Reeve. So I did pull some information on the sweeper, and just for your first question, I think we could get another year out of it. I guess the first question was to bring forward bulk costing per hour on contracted services for budgetary purposes, and the second question was regarding purchasing a new sweeper or purchasing a used sweeper. My plan is to bring back a more detailed report with all this data to the next council meeting, but for the purpose of the budget, I can speak to the new versus used situation. So we had budgeted $550,000 for a new sweeper, and that was a number to put in there in hopes that we would come in much lower than that, but some of the quotes, the preliminary quotes we got were around 500,000. That being said, one of our recent quotes that was from a demo that we got came in just recently around 429,000 before HST. So the used, I got a few different quotes, and they do range for sure. It kind of depends on how many hours you have on the unit and how many kilometers, but the opinion of the Public Works Department is that it would be preferred not to purchase a used unit because of the ongoing maintenance. The used unit could have any kind of problems or past problems that have already been repaired. So it is definitely the preference not to purchase used. Still comes at an expense. It is lower, but may not get as much use out of it. The benefits of purchasing new are it's a brand new unit. There are less maintenance hours, less maintenance costs, and I can kind of touch on some of the maintenance hours and operating hours of our in-house unit right now, or I can kind of just talk about that in my future report to council. But we could, I think the 550,000 number is high, but we also could probably push it for another year.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Legree, please.
Through you, Remo, I guess just to comment, my thoughts are I agree that sometimes you're buying used equipment, you're buying somebody else's problems and stuff like that, but I would defer. This is not an emergency thing for me, so I'd like to defer it to 2027.
Okay, so Councilor Legree has made a motion to defer the sweeper to 2027. Any further comment? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? None is carried. Thank you. Thank you, committee. Next, we move down to 50,000, which is the dog park fence overhaul. Oh, it's 60,000. Yes, sorry, I had that note under my sleeve. 60,000. All right. Any comments? It's unfinanced. Councillor McDonald?
It's a lot of money, Reeve, and we don't have it financed yet. And I'm just wondering, is there anything we can do in-house to stabilize it temporarily if we defer it? So I'll throw that question out to you, Reeve. Thank you.
Thank you. Director?
Thank you, through you, Reeve. The team has done several fixes, continue to do fixes. The problem right now is, we can look at a solution of how to figure, we'd have to put something around the bottom of the entire perimeter because the fence is just not holding there. But we can look into options for this year.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonald?
So do you need a motion to defer, or we just defer?
Yes, please.
I'll throw the motion in.
Okay, and Councillor McDonald has made the motion. Discussion?
I agree with Councillor McDonald. I'd like to see it deferred for another year.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of deferring? Opposed? None, it's carried. Thank you, committee. Next, we're moving to 225. Innovation gas furnace replacement, 5 units. Sorry? Oh, I didn't see. What did I see? Oh, I'm sorry. Ball Diamond Lights Phase 1. I'm sorry. Ball Diamond Lights Phase 1 replacement, 225,000. My apologies. Councillor McWhirter?
My phone's going to blow up from somebody, but I'd like to defer this for another year if we possibly could. We're just doing the lights now for One Diamond. Again, we're short money here. This is not critical, so in my eyes, my opinion is to defer.
Okay, and Councillor Legree. So you've made the motion, so we're discussing the motion. Go ahead.
Through you, Revimo, I agree with Councillor McWhirter. We're doing phase 1 now, the light up One Diamond. I think that'll help with some tournaments and stuff like that, and we need to make some tough decisions here, and for me, this just doesn't make the cut for this year, so for next year. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Reeve. And if finance can correct me, was that part of reserves, or can that come out of reserves, where it won't affect taxation?
Yes, Deputy Treasurer,
For Phase 2, it's currently being recommended, well, it's currently sitting at unfinanced because there's more information coming. If committee wanted to approve it and fund it as part of 2026, then based off of kind of the discussion today, the goal would be to attempt to finance it through reserves as a financing option, if that were to be approved. But Phase 1 was through reserves. Phase 2 is currently sitting at unfinanced, in short.
okay, thank you. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Reeve. I think I would prefer an update with regard to the financing. I know there's a motion on the table. If it didn't affect taxation, and potentially we may even start it next year or make it a 2-year project, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't mind more options before I make a decision on that. And I know Councillor Andrew Dick isn't here, so that's why I wouldn't mind more options, so at least we're all aware of it.
Okay, so essentially you're asking to table the other motion until we get more information.
Thank you. I would like more information.
Okay. So can we, okay, discussion on tabling. Yes, sir.
Through your review, so I'm not in favor of tabling it. I want to move it off. It's, what's that, sorry?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, the vote needs to take place then.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, can I just explain or no? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, like, let's just take it out of reserves, but we also need to watch that too. So, like, we can't, it's not a money tree growing in the backyard. So, and it just doesn't make the cut for me. So.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, so the motion is to table discussion on Ball Diamond Lights Phase 2 in order to get more information. Oh, I'm sorry.
So through your review mode, the original motion on the floor was that the Budget Committee defer consideration of the Ball Diamond Lights Phase 2 until the 2027 budget. The motion to defer was debated and not put forward, so. So the motion deferred, you have to deal with this motion.
Okay, so which motion am I voting on, just to make sure? No, well, just to make sure we understand.
No, I totally understand. So the original motion from Councillor McWhirter is that the Budget Committee defer consideration of the Ball Diamond Lights Phase 2 until 2027 budget.
So this is the one, okay.
This is the one that needs to be voted on.
Unless there's any other comments from committee, I'll call the vote. So all those in favor of deferring? Opposed? Okay, so it's carried. Thank you, committee. So then the table one doesn't become an issue. Got it. Okay, thank you. God, you learn something new every day. So next we are, as we've raced forward, we're going to talk about the gas furnaces at 250. So, yes, Director, could you refresh my memory?
Yes, so thank you through your Eve. I did get some more information. So again, there's, I believe, 5 units in the one innovation. The furnaces are between 40 and 50 years old. They are all original to the building, and what's happening is as they're breaking down, they're becoming very difficult to find parts for, and the parts themselves are very expensive. An example, we've had a pipe that's dislodged on one of the units. And the initial quote for just repairing that piece is $33,000. So the recommendation is to start looking at replacing these units before we don't have a choice, unfortunately. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Quickly, Councillor McWhirter, then Councillor Legree.
Just a thought. What if we were to come up with a program like replace none that need to be replaced like immediately because they're not working, but what if we were to do one every year going forward? How many is there to do, and is that something we could? There's 5. So over the next 5 years. The reason being is it's like equipment. When you do a truck, you don't want to replace your whole fleet the same year every year. By deferring every year, then it spreads out the lifespan of the piece of equipment, sort of like a truck. You don't want to have a fleet of 5 trucks and then replace them every 10 years together because of the cost. It's better always to replace one a year or something to break that up. And I'm thinking this would be proactive, replacing one every year for 5 years.
Okay, before I go to you, I'll go to the Deputy Treasurer.
That is the price per unit. So there's 5 units, so that should have been maybe cleaned up in the wording. That's for 1 unit, and there's 5 units to be replaced over the next 5 years.
So 1 unit is 250,000? Oh, okay. Well, that certainly sharpens the focus. Councilor agree.
Through your Emo. I don't think we should be in the rental business, but we are, and we don't really have a choice, I don't think, in my mind. There's $1 million worth of furnaces that need to be done that are, did you say 40 to 50 years old? So that's, we're lucky that they're actually still starting up, so I'm okay with keeping, not okay with it, but I feel like we need to keep this one in.
Okay. I wasn't being skeptical. I was just trying to figure out if there's any out-of-the-box scenarios, but I can't find one. Councillor Sobalski, then McDonald.
Thank you, through Reeves. So we have some roof work going on there, if I'm not mistaken. Any of these units happen to fall in the area, maybe we're not done the roof work yet. It could help us on the first one, or at least make our decision easier. Understanding that the odds of the curb being a direct bolt and the age of the curb, it's going to be roof work. That's part of the reason why this work is so extensive. So maybe could we get lucky on the first one? Just some comments.
Director?
I don't have the answer to that, but I can find out and report back.
So you'll certainly try to align them. Thank you. And Councillor McDonald, then Legree.
Thank you, Reeve, through you, directed towards finance. Do we have line items, and I'm thinking about finance, and do we have line items with regard to the income that comes in from One Innovation? Can we access that for some of the repairs? And then after that, I'll have a follow-up, Reeve.
So, Director, please.
Thank you, through you. If you don't mind, I'll take that one, just because we are working on a report that is coming to Council end of November, which will show exactly what the revenues are right now after the current repairs that are coming out for the roof, et cetera. So there's not enough spread at this point to replace one of them. But, I mean, Finance may have further information.
Deputy Treasurer.
Just for some more clarity, I believe what you're saying is, can the tenant revenue offset the cost of the capital? In theory, you could, but you would be including it as part of your operating budget then, because that capital is not currently in operating. So in a roundabout way, yes, but how capital's currently set up is that it's not financed out of taxation, which if you introduce the capital into operating, you'd be introducing a levy requirement by default, right? So just kind of long answer. You could, but how it's currently set up, it's capital's paying for capital through capital reserves.
Follow up.
Thank you, Reeve. So I think I'm okay, and it's the floor's position. 1 a year is what we're looking at, but I think we need to have some flexibility with regard to that. If we fix the first one, and a second one goes in the short term, as opposed to fixing it, I wouldn't mind a report coming forward. Does it make more sense to fix a second one as opposed to, purchase a second one as opposed to fixing it? So I think we need flexibility as we move forward over the next several years.
Yeah, with the understanding that we may have to call an emergency council meeting just to make sure that we get the right decision at the right time. And secondly, can we keep the old ones somewhere and salvage them for parts if we need them, just to have the other 3, 4, 5 units, 3, 4, 5 limp along? Because sometimes they want to take them away, and if there's anything salvageable, we should keep it.
Short answer, thank you, through you, yes. I will say that these units are huge.
Yes.
So the issue would become where we were going to store them. But definitely if they could be taken apart and parts kept, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Legree, I kept you waiting.
That's okay, and thank you. Councillor McDonald answered my question, so asked my question.
Okay, and again, if we're going to stay in the business of renting, given that we rent space here, we rent space at Mattaway, and we rent space at One Innovation, the point you made that we don't really have the ability to separate out the revenue so that the revenue pays for the place is troublesome. So at some point we may need to set up a corporation simply because you can take on long-term debt, you can file an income tax return, and you can stretch out some of that debt, whereas now we're stuck with pulling it in and out of our revenue streams. And so, that's I'm going to take all the powers of this chair today and suggest that that's a January 1 question. We should have a very serious conversation in January about a go-forward plan. We are going to be, in some fashion, landlords. And so we should take a long look at how we do that so that we can finance it best. So, Deputy Treasurer, I'm sorry I kept you waiting.
It's good. I just think I have a little bit of additional info to tie on to what you have, just maybe for us all to consider is when we do pull the numbers for all of the locations, 550 Hall, One Innovation, just all of them, period. Historically, I have seen instances where you take your operating costs of everything and then your revenues, and if your revenues are more than your operating costs, you put the differences to reserve for that facility for future capital work or for future maintenance, so that the levy impact of those facilities, they kind of self-finance themselves, and I just think that is probably I think what you're trying to get at.
Oh, I definitely am. Thank you. I've been running down that road for a while, but somebody keeps moving the road on me. So, anyway, yes, I agree. Councillor McWhorter, please.
For you, Chair, just statement. I agree 100%. This is not something new. We've talked about this in the past. I know I've had conversations with the CEO about this when she first came on board. I think it's a great idea moving forward if we're going to continue to be landlords, and it looks like we are. So I think this would be a great step forward.
Okay, thank you. The next thing is item number is the $500,000 in One Innovation roof replacement. And again, I think we all realize that we are forced into the situation of doing it now or tomorrow. So, okay, so that's going to stay in. And are we going to ask for financing on that, or are we just have the realization it'll stay in unfinanced till we have a long-term solution? I'm sorry. So leave it in unfinanced at this point until we have a longer-term solution? Okay. Deputy Treasurer and Treasurer, is that? Okay, we'll leave it in unfinanced in the short term until we have a longer-term solution. Okay, all right, thank you. And we'll move over to landfill scale and scale house. So we have 150 of that $200,000 project coming out of reserves and another 50 unfinanced. So council, pardon me?
Through you, Reeve, I believe we already talked about moving that, making it all 200,000.
Okay, so we're going to move the whole thing over to reserves in hopes that we can take it out of the, we've already talked about taking, okay. You got it? Perfect. Good. We seemingly have figured that out earlier, but I'm sorry.
Through Reeve, just to go back, so my understanding the landfill one that was previously discussed was regarding the slope stabilization. Did you?
Slope stability, yes.
Yeah.
And then
Did I miss something? I thought we just said scale house.
So anyway, Treasurer Hodge and Deputy Treasurer, do you feel okay. So the scale house, you feel you've got it under control? Okay, perfect. Good, thank you.
Thank you. Reeve, through you, and it was a general conversation earlier on, but do we need a motion, Clerk, or we're good just to throw it over to the reserves, that 50,000?
I'm sorry, through you, I am confused. So if, again, if the discussion happened today to move it into reserves, then I would say that we should probably have a motion, and I don't currently have a motion on that.
Okay, Councillor McDonald makes the motion that the unfinanced of the scale house be moved over to reserves. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None is carried. Thank you very much. Next, no, it's okay. 1.795, which is Harry Street Part 1. And so I think we had, I'm sorry, Councillor McWhirter, I think we had the discussion about tying it together into a larger project with Monroe. Is that what you're going to remind me of? Okay, thank you. No, remind's good. So that finishes up all of the unfinanced as well at this point. So I think we've gone through all the columns, the two members of finance that you'd like us to go through. All right, could I suggest we take about a 5-minute break, just so I'm sorry, Councillor McWhirter?
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave in a little while, so I'm not sure if you want to go ahead and delve into operating next or postpone it. I'd like to be part of it, but I will stay as long as I can, but probably got another half hour and then I got to go.
Okay, so my impression is operating wouldn't be dealt with in a half hour. Okay, so why don't we, if it's okay with everybody, we would call it a day today and come back. I think we're scheduled for the 13th. Is that my impression, my memory?
Yes, through you, Reeve. So we have a public budget meeting to take place on November 12th prior to our regular council meeting that's scheduled at 5:30. So the public budget meeting is scheduled for 5 p.m. and then the regular meeting to immediately follow. So the next opportunity that's currently been identified is November the 13th at 10 a.m.
Okay, and Deputy Treasurer.
Can I just ask for clarity what we're putting on there? Like, what are we putting on the public budget meeting? Because there's been a lot of changes. Are we putting on the first draft? Are we putting on, because there's still operating hasn't been discussed. So I'm just wondering what we're putting on the public budget meeting.
Well, again, I think we're stuck with, that's the wrong choice of words. I think we're in the position where we would leave the operating at the 9, and we'd be very clear to the public that we're still working on it, but we would go ahead and present the changes with the with what we talked up to today on capital and a few other things. Is that fair, Council? Because then the only other option is to come in one other night next week or day next week to try and get operating and get a complete phase or draft 1 to the public. So my impression is, oh, you're gone. Are you gone? Okay. Okay, everybody's gone. Yeah, that's okay. There was a reason why we couldn't fit. Okay, I'm sorry. So I think we're at the position now where we will acknowledge to the public we're going to come back and work on the 9, but we have a draft including the 9 right now. So we will, and they may speak very loud and say, look, we want more services, and you have to keep them in within the 9, within that operating side. So anyway, we'll present what we have to date. Councillor McWhirter?
Just to throw this out there, I have to leave, but if you guys prefer to work on the budget going forward, that's up to you. You still have a quorum. It's totally up to you. I understand.
Okay. So I'll leave it to committee. Do you feel, Councillor?
Thank you, Reeve, through you. I'd rather have the more of us, the better. That's where I'm at right now, and I'll leave it up for other opinions.
Well, and I agree with you. I think the 5 of us work well together, and I'd like to see us get it done as a group. And so recognizing that everybody has some other things going on, we'll wait until after we'll schedule for the 13th at 10 in the morning and go back at operating and taking into account what we've heard on the evening before and the new changes, and hopefully at the end of the day on the 13th we'll have it done. End of, you know what I mean, the end of the session. End of them. Keep me right at 11:59 that night. But anyway, thank you very much. So with that, I will offer up, I'm sorry, what am I offering up?
Sorry, through you, Reeve. I actually just wanted to close the loop on a couple different things. So just so that staff have proper direction when they leave here today, and all the discussion that we've had on capital, could I just suggest that the following motion be considered, is that the Budget Committee directs staff to bring forward funding options through reserves for all capital items remaining that were kept, that have been identified through taxation and finance for further review and consideration. I think that closes what the Finance Department needs.
Okay, thanks. I'd ask for a motion from the floor on that. Councillor McWhirter. Councillor, or discussion? No, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? None, it's carried. Great, thank you very much. And so thank you, council and staff. Boy, this is the best way to do this. I know it looks like we're grinding forward, Councillor McWhirter, but it has been ground forward. So thank you to council. Good questions, and very watchful of strategic investment as well as investments that we can afford. So that's a delicate balance. And to staff, thank you very much for your frankness. It's not easy to say, look, I put that in the budget, but I could probably band-aid together my sweeper for one more year and other things like that. So I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. We're adjourned today at 1:20, and we have our next regular council meeting on Tuesday the
12th, Wednesday the 12th.
Wednesday the 12th, yes.
Immediately following the budget.
Immediately following the budget. So thank you very much.